Chulin Daf Lamed Tes. Says the Gemara on the third line, Itmar Hashoichet es habehema. Someone slaughters an animal of Chulin Lizrik Dam Lav, but with intention to throw the blood on an altar of idolatry, or ulhakir chalovim lav, or to take the fats and burn them for an idol. So Rabbi Yochanan Amar Psula. Rabbi Yochanan says the shchita is puzzle, the animal is puzzle, and Asar Bahana. Rabbi Shimon Lakish Amar Muteris, it's permitted. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Psula. Rabbi Yochanan says it's puzzle because he holds mechashvin me avoida la avoida. You can have intention from one part of worship to another part of worship. We all know that in the Beis HaMikdash, if there are certain rituals that if you do them, you have to have the correct intention. If you have bad intention or a different intention from the correct intention, then it disqualifies the action and the korban becomes puzzle. For example, pigul. If you slaughter an animal with intention to throw the blood after its proper time or out of the proper place, then it disqualifies the korban. There's certain korbanos that need to be done lishma, for the intention of the actual korban that it is. If it's an oila, you have to have intention for an oila. If it's a shlam, you have intention for a shlamim. If it's a pesach, you have to have intention for a korban pesach. If you have bad intention, it's a problem in certain situations. Rabbi Yochanan says, he says that even if while doing one avodah, let's say the shchita, you have intention to do the zrika in a bad way, or with the incorrect intention, you have incorrect intentions regarding the zrika of the blood while you do the shchita, Rabbi Yochanan says it's possible. That's what it means, mechashvin me avodah la avodah, from one part of the job, one part of the working in the Beis HaMikdash to another part of the working in the Beis HaMikdash, that is considered pasul. V'alfin chutz mipnim, and we learn chutz, meaning animals that are slaughtered bechulin, when they're chulin, they're slaughtered outside of the Beis HaMikdash, but the slaughter l'avodah zarah, we learn the halachos that pertain to them from pnim, from the halachos of kachim that are done inside. Rish Lakish Amar Muteris. No, he says our situation over here, where you slaughtered an animal, and while you slaughtered it, you had no intention that your slaughter should be l'avodah zarah, but you intended to throw the blood. Subsequently, when you get the blood, you're going to throw the blood or burn the fats to avodah zarah. But the actual slaughter was okay. Rish Lakish says, therefore, he says, Ein mechashin avodah l'avodah. You can't have bad machshava by one avodah, and it should pertain to a different avodah. And therefore, since you did the shchita, okay, you just had in mind for the zrika, therefore he says that's not a problem. It does not disqualify the shchita. The machshava you have for zrika does not disqualify the shchita. And also he holds we don't learn chutz mipnim. We don't learn chulin from inside. We don't learn chulin from kachim. And the Gemara is going to explain that they go consistently according to their previous disputes, the itmar. Because we learned shachta lishma. Let's say someone slaughters an animal lishma. But while he slaughtered the animal lishma, he had intention lizrek dama shaloi lishma. Intention to slaughter the animal shaloi lishma. Let's say he's talking about a chatas. A chatas needs to be done lishma. The first mishnah in Masechtas Zvachim that a chatas needs to be done lishma. And let's say during the shchita you had in mind for it, you shechted it for a chatas. But while you slaughtered it, you had in mind that you were going to throw the blood for an oila or for a shlamim, while the korban you're dealing with is supposed to be a chatas. So then Rabbi Yochanan Amar Psula, he says it's disqualified. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Psula, because he says mechashvin me avodah la avodah. We do say that you can have intention from one avodah to another avodah, and because while you slaughtered you had intention for the zrika, so that disqualifies the shchita too. How does Rabbi Yochanan know this? Because we learn from pigul. The quintessential case of pigul is when you slaughter something with intention to eat it or to throw the dam out of its proper time or out of its proper place. And therefore, pigul by definition is when you do one maisa with intention to do a different maisa in its improper time or its improper place. And therefore, from pigul, in that situation, for sure, the way pigul works is by being mechashev me'avodah la'avodah. The question is if it applies to other places. Meaning, everyone agrees that by pigul, that's the way you can disqualify a carbon through pigul, is by shechting something with intention to throw the dam after its proper time, or to eat it out of its proper time. And that's the way you can disqualify a carbon through pigul. The question is does the concept of mechashev me'avodah la'avodah work even by a psul shaloi l'shma? So Rabbi Yochanan says, yes, we do learn gamrinon mimachshavas pigul. We learn that from pigul, that just like over there, having bad intention for one maisa can disqualify another maisa. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Amar Kshera, he says no, it's kosher. Why? Because ein mechashev me'avodah la'avodah. In the case where you're mechashev the shchita l'shma, but while you did the shchita l'shem chatos, you had intention to be zoyrek in the future l'shem a different carbon. Then he says it's kosher because ein mechashev me'avodah la'avodah v'lo gamrim mechashavas pigul. You don't learn from pigul. It's only pigul that has that specific halacha that you can be mechashev me'avodah la'avodah, but not by other psulim. Continues the Gemara and says, Utzricha, you need both cases. Meaning the Gemara just finished saying that the machlekes that we brought down regarding slaughtering of avodah zarah, you shecht an animal with intention to throw the blood of avodah zarah, is consistent with the machlekes that they have regarding if you slaughter an animal lishma with intention to throw the dam shelo lishma. It's consistent. They argue with each other consistently in both scenarios. The Gemara says, but you still need to record, they still needed to dispute and record their machlekes by both scenarios. Why? If you only said it in this situation, meaning in the situation that we just said, by lishma, by a carbon that you're slaughtering lishma, in that situation, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said, the opposite. The Gemara says, if you only said it in our situation, the Gemara brought by avodah zarah, Rish Lakish says, only over there, Rish Lakish said, Mishum dechutz mipnim lo yalfinan. I might think that only over there because we don't learn chulin from kachim. We don't learn things that go on outside the Beis HaMikdash from things that go on in the Beis HaMikdash. Aval pnim mipnim, but within kachim, of course you learn from. I might say that of course you learn the din of lishma from the din of pigul, because they're both kachim pnim mipnim. So therefore, Ema might do that. Rabbi Yochanan, I would think maybe agrees to Rabbi Yochanan to say that it's possible. And therefore we had to say, no, that even inside, Rish Lakish holds that ein mechashin me'avodah la'avodah ve'it mar behach. But if you said inside, if you say the case of Lishma, I would say Bahikam Rabbi Yochanan. Only over there, Rabbi Yochanan says that mechashin me'avodah la'avodah, and it's puzzle. Aval beha, but outside ein moedilei the Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, I would say maybe agrees with Shimon ben Lakish because lo yalfin chut mipnim. Therefore, tzricha, both cases are needed to be recorded. Most of Rav Sheshis. Now, Rav Sheshis asks a question, and that's why it's relevant to our sugya here in Chulin, because he's going to ask from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said, Amar Rabbi Yossi, Kal v'chomer advarim. Rabbi Yossi said, again, the case of our Mishnah was that if someone slaughters for a non-Jew, and the discussion in the Tanakama and Rabbi Elazar is whether the default intention of a non-Jew is for avodah zarah or not. And then Rabbi Yossi says, listen, Bailim can't be mefagel. The same way by kachim, only the person who actually does the shchita, only the person who actually does the avodah is the one who can officiate a bad intention to disqualify a carbon, and the owner has nothing to do with it. He could think all he wants, it's not going to make a difference. So too over here, since a Jew is slaughtering it for a non-Jew, even if the non-Jew has all the intention in the world that this slaughtering should be for idolatry, it's not going to make a difference because it all has to do with the person that's actually slaughtering. Rabbi Yossi, and this is Rabbi Yossi's words, Kal v'chomer advarim. He learns a Kal v'chomer from kachim. If even in a place where machshava is paisal, we do find that incorrect intention can disqualify. Where do we find that by kachim? It does not go only according to the one who works, only the actual sheikhet. Makom she'en machshava paisel, in a place where machshava does not paisel, b'chulin, meaning by chulin, where we don't find the machshava as paisel, ein adin shelo yehei hakol elachar shochet. Of course, we're only going to go after the actual person who slaughters, and the non-Jew's intention is not going to make a difference. That's the Gemara. My ein machshava paiseles. What does it mean? What does Rabbi Yossi mean when he says the machshava is not paisel? If you mean to say that Rabbi Yossi means to say that by chulin there is no psul of machshava, how do we ever find then that if someone slaughters an animal for idolatry, that it's puzzle? The slaughtering of an animal for idolatry, the mitzvah that it becomes also where do you find it? It's chulin, it's outside, it's not kachim, right? And you slaughter and it becomes aser. So of course we know that even by chulin machshava can disqualify. Why is Rabbi Yossi saying that by chulin it doesn't disqualify? His whole kal v'chomer is predicated on the fact that by kachim machshava does passel, and by chulin machshava doesn't passel. It's not true. You see that by avodah zara, if someone slaughters an animal avodah zara, of course it disqualifies, even though it's chulin and it's outside. It's not the Beis Hamikdash. Ela pshita, says the Gemara, must be. It's simple. We can simply understand what Rabbi Yossi means is me'avodah la'avodah. He means that machshava, the machshava Rabbi Yossi is talking about is using the machshava for one avodah to disqualify another avodah. And this is what Rabbi Yossi means to say. If even in a place where machshava is paisel b'mukdashim by kachim me'avodah la'avodah, like the case we saw by lishma, that if you have in mind, while you shecht an animal l'shem chatas, you have in mind to throw the dam l'shem oila, in that situation it's puzzle, may avoid la'avoida, still ein hakol hoilech el achar ovid. We still only care about the actual person who's slaughtering, not the owner who's standing on the side. So makom she'en machshava paiseles b'chulin, in a place, for sure in a place where intention does not disqualify by chulin. In what scenario? In the scenario of avoida la'avoida, only within that same avodah can you disqualify. Of course, in that, so of course by chulin, where you can be mechashev me'avodah la'avodah, that the parameters of bad intention that disqualify are even smaller, because you can't be mechashev me'avodah la'avodah by chulin. Then for sure we should only go according to the actual worker, the actual sheikh, the actual ovid, and not the owner. And that is what Rabbi Yossi's kal v'chomer is. So you see from here that pnim should be kashel Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, who says bifnim, inside ein mechash me'avodah la'avodah, Rabbi Yossi obviously assumes that inside there is mechash me'avodah la'avodah and chutz, but nevertheless according to is kashel Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Yossi still maintains that outside ein mechashin la'avodah la'avodah. By chulin we're not mechashin la'avodah la'avodah. Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish argue unanimously. By both chutz and pnim, they both each say that say they're consistent shita. Says the Gemara, Bishlama pnim l'Rab Shimon ben Lakish, we can take care of pnim according to Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. That's loy kasha, that's not a question. Why? Because hami kamei d'shamim Rabbi Yochanan. Because when did he say that bifnim ein mechash me'avodah la'avodah? That's before he heard it from Rabbi Yochanan. But Rabbi Yochanan was his Rebbe, and once he heard it from Rabbi Yochanan, he agreed. After he heard it from Rabbi Yochanan, then he agreed to Rabbi Yochanan. So therefore, he really agreed that really we are mechashav me'avodah la'avodah. So therefore, the Gemara is saying the question is really fully deflected on Rabbi Yochanan, because Rish Lakish really was a disciple of Rabbi Yochanan, and it could be that he agreed to Rabbi Yochanan. And therefore, it's not a question specifically on Rish Lakish. Ella, says the Gemara, chutz kash Rabbi Yochanan, but still on Rabbi Yochanan's shita, on this shita now, that we're saying that he holds that outside ein mechashim me'avodah la'avodah, and it's possible. Rabbi Yossi said ein mechashim me'avodah la'avodah outside, and his kal v'chomer was predicated on that. Says the Gemara, who moisid lavu mefar Rabbi Sheshis, who asked this question on Rabbi Yochanan from our Mishnah, he himself gave the answer. No, be'arva avodas. What Rabbi Yossi means to say is that by kachim, by all four avodas, you have the disqualification of bad intention, of machshava psula. The 4 avodas are shchita, zrika, kabbalah, shchita, kabbalah, hilacha, and zrika. When you slaughter the animal, you accept the animal in the kli, you bring it to the mizbeach, and then you throw it on the mizbeach. Those are the 4 avodas. In all 4 avodas, machshava disqualifies. And this is what he means to say. If even in a place where machshava disqualifies, by kachim, be'arba avodas in all 4 different parts of the job, and still all we care about is the one who actually does the avodah, not the bailim, and bailim can be mefagel. Makom she'ein machshava poiseles, in a place where machshava does not disqualify b'chulin ela b'shtei avodas, only by 2 avodas. Rashi says by shchita and zrika. By chulin, by avodah zara, if you have intention to be sheichet or to be zarek avodah zara, then it disqualifies the carbon. No other avodas, no kabbalah or hilocha, and therefore in chulin that's being slaughtered avodah zara, the delineation of where machshava psula disqualifies a carbon is much smaller, and therefore for sure initially okay, so either way we have no meaning of course it all depends on the oived and not the bailim. Okay, and that's a basis kavachaimer, and there's no disproof to Rabbi Yochanan's shita. And all the more so says, continues the Gemara, that Tanya Kavasid the Rabbi Yochanan. There is a brisa that says like exactly like Rabbi Yochanan, that says Ashaychet Esebehema Lizrik Dama, if someone slaughters an animal with intention to take its blood and throw it la'avodas kachavim, or lahakter chel la'avodas kachavim, or to burn the fats la'avodas zara, harei elu zivchei mesim, it's considered avodas zara. Zivchei mesim is a euphemism, the slaughtering of the dead. What does that mean? It's a euphemism for avodas zara, which really have no powers, and therefore they're called dead. Continue, and so this Reisha of this brisa, you see, explicitly holds like Rabbi Yochanan that the animal becomes disqualified, even though the shchita you had fully correct. Yet you did not have any evil intentions during the slaughter. You only had intentions to be zarek. While you slaughtered, you had intention to be zarek la'avodah zara, zarek the dam avodah zara, and therefore that's enough already to disqualify the carbon. And that's Rabbi Yochanan's shita. Continues the brisa. Shachta ve'achar kachishav aleh. Let's say you slaughtered it, and then afterwards, a Jew slaughters it, and then afterwards he has in mind to take the dam and throw it la'avodah zara. Shachta ve'achar kachishav aleh zeh yamaisa b'Keisari. In Caesarea, they had this question. They had this story that this happened. They didn't say whether it's mutter, whether it's asur. It stayed hanging. Amar Rav Chisda, says Rav Chisda, to explain why no one wanted to give a psak in that situation. They didn't want to say that it's asur because of the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan said that the Rabbanan in our Mishnah on Daf Yomi Chullin Page said that stam machshavas avodas kachavim is not la'avodah zara. We don't assume that the default intention of an idolater is always to slaughter towards avodah zara, and therefore in this situation, even though we know that afterwards he had intention to throw the dam to avodah zara, but we don't say that while he slaughtered it he had intention avodah zara, because stam chachamim holds stam machshavas avodas kachavim lav avodas kachavim. They didn't want to say that it's mutter mishum kvoidesh Rabbi Eliyahu because of the honor of Rabbi Eliyahu, in order to show deference to Rabbi Eliyahu's opinion, who says that stam machshavas kachavim avodas zara is la'avodas kachavim. Therefore, they don't want to say it's mutter because according to him, since we found out that this guy's an idolater, therefore we retroactively know that his slaughtering was by default had intention to be avodas zara, so it's asur, and therefore we don't want to say it's mutter as deference to his opinion. Says the Gemara, Mimai. Why would you say that this is the reasoning as to why you didn't want to give a psak? Dilma adkan like Rabbanan. Maybe the Rabbanan only said their opinion hasam in our Mishnah. Ela delay shomana dechashiv, in a situation where we did not hear that he actually, this non-Jew had in mind for avodah zara. Aval hacha, but in this situation that we actually, the shomana dechashiv, we actually heard, we know that he's an idolater because we know that he took his blood and wanted to throw avodah zara. And therefore, in the situation where we actually have concrete evidence that this person has intention for idolatry, maybe the Rabbanan would agree And therefore, maybe in this situation, we should say that it's asur even according to the Rabbanan. Because the end of his actions, meaning that he had intention to throw the blood, he wanted to throw the blood l'avodah zarah, that proves to us that the beginning of his actions, and even by the shechita alone, you have this, he had in mind for avodah zarah. Inami, or alternatively, we can disprove Rav Chisda's understanding as to why they didn't say that it's mutter as in deference to Rabbi Elazar's shita, because maybe not. Maybe ad kan loikam Rabbi Elazar. Hasam, Rabbi Elazar only said it over there. By an actual non-Jew, the stam achsheves ovid kechavim lavodas kechavim is only by a non-Jew. The default intention is only by a person who is an established idolater and he's actually a non-Jew. Aval Yisrael, but a Yisrael. We do not say that if it's a Jew, we don't say that because we see later on that he had in mind for idolatry, that means even before he had in mind for idolatry. Why? Rashi says, because maybe while the shechita he was not an idolater, and after the shechita, the dilma achar shechita nichnas b'yetzer hore, the hemer dosai. Maybe only after the slaughtering, that's when the evil inclination entered him, and he decided to convert to idolatry. And therefore, maybe even Rabbi Elazar would hold it. Since it's a Jew over here, maybe we do not disqualify the shechita, because in this situation we don't say that the stam achshava was l'avodah zarah. Elam Rav Shezvi. So Rav Shezvi is now going to give it an alternative shot as to why they didn't want to give a definite psak over here. Lo yamru asur v'lo yamru mutter. Says Rav Shezvi, Lo yamru b'heter mishum kvoda de Rashbag. They didn't say it's mutter because of deference to Rashbag. Who's Rabbi Shimon? Which shita of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel? Says the Gemara, hey Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Which shita of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel? Ilay Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, the Gittin, the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel regarding Gittin, Ditnan, like we have in the Mishnah, by Gittin, Hivri, Habari. If you have a person who's healthy, She'omar kisu get le'ishti. He says, write a get for my wife. He appoints shlichim, he says, write a get for my wife. And then they go ahead and give it to the wife, even though he never said kisvu utnu. He doesn't say write it and give it to her. He just said write it. So you have no right to actually give it to her, and he did not appoint them as his shlichim, as a halachic shliach, as a messenger, to give a get. All he did was to write it. And since he's healthy, we say that Ratzah l'sachik bo. He just wanted to fool her. In what situation? Rashi explains that she was, like, maybe she's bothering him. She's just bothering him to write a get so that if he, in case he dies, she doesn't want to have to do yibum to his brother. So therefore she wants him to divorce him. But therefore he just says kisvu get, write a get, but he never really meant to divorce her. He just meant to play around with her and to get her off his back. Umaise bibari, and there was a story that happened with a healthy person. Shamar kisvu get leishti, and he said, "Write a get for my wife." Ve'olo lagag, and he went up to the roof. V'nofal, and then he fell and died. And Rashbag says, "Ime atzmei nofal." If he fell on his own, meaning he threw himself down, then harei get. It's considered a get. Why? Because the halacha is that if it's not a bari, if it's a choyle, or if it's someone who's dangerously unhealthy and he might die, so if he says kisvu get leishti, we think he's serious, and he didn't just mean write it, he actually meant write it and give it. So we have the shlichus from the Baal. We do have an active tzivui from the Baal to these shluchim to write the get and give the get, and because he's unhealthy, we know that's what he intended. And only by a healthy person we assume he just means to write the get and not to actually give the get, right? So this person, let's say he said kisvu get leishti, and then he goes and jumps off the roof. So then we are safe to assume that when he said write the get to his wife, he meant write it and give it. And if the shluchim had given it before the guy jumped off the roof, so then it is a good get, and she doesn't have to fall to yibum. She doesn't even need chalitza. However, if he fell as a result of the wind pushing him, So then we say, ain't a get, it's not a get. Why is it not a get? Because he was a bari, he was a healthy person. He never meant that, he never thought he was going to die. The wind just pushed him, and therefore he never really had intention for the to tell the shlichim to actually write a get. So continues the Gemara, v'havinan ba. We ponder, we have a question regarding this mission that we just said. Maisa listar. Are you bringing a Maisa listar? Why? Because the original law, the original rule that the Mishnah said was that if a bari says kisu get leishti, so then you can't give it. And then we say that there was a story that Rashbag says that it does work, right? So why are you bringing a Maisa? The flow of the Mishnah doesn't really make sense because you're bringing a Maisa to contradict the previous rule. The Maisa in the situation of the Maisa, we say that it's as if he said tenu, and the get is a good get, and you tell me that he's a healthy person, and the original rule is that a healthy person doesn't really mean to give the get, just means to write the get. So why it doesn't flow nicely when you tell me a story that contradicts the original rule. So says the Gemara, we say that there's something missing. We have to add a clause here into the Mishnah. There's something in between the lines. We mean to say like this: we mean to say that really a bari, a healthy person who says kisvu, you cannot give the get. He just meant l'sachikba. But if the end proves on the beginning, if there's evidence in the future that sheds light onto what he meant when he said kisvu, so then hare is a get. And that's why we bring the story. Maisinami bibaru, you have a totally healthy person. Sha'amar kisu get leishti, that said kisu, write a get for my wife, but all the guy, he walks up to the roof and nafal and he falls, umeis. And therefore Ashbak says, ime atma nafal, if he fell on his own accord, meaning he jumped off, then I raise a get. But if the wind pushed him in a get, right? So you see Rashbag holds over here that in a situation, even though he started off as a bari, but since at the end, Saifai is Meichechat Chilasad, that since he jumped off, he really had meant, he knew that he was going to kill himself, and therefore he all along meant to actually give the get to his wife. And if they actually had given the get before the guy died, then the get works. After death, the get never works. But before death, if they actually gave it, then it works. If they had given it to the wife. So the Gemara over here, Reb Shezvi, is trying to explain the previous statement that we said, that the reason why when someone slaughtered l'avodah zara, he slaughtered an animal without any avodah zara, he had no intention, he slaughtered a regular animal, and then later on we see that he wants to go throw the dam l'avodah zara, right? So we say there was no psak, it was not mutter and not aser. So the Gemara says maybe the reason why they didn't want to say it's mutter is because Rashbag holds of this concept of that the end can shed light in the beginning. Just like over here, if he jumped off the roof, that sheds light that he originally meant to say, give the get to my wife. So too over here, since at the end he has in mind to throw the dam l'avodah zara, so too maybe in the beginning he had in mind for shchita, and therefore it's aser. Therefore we don't want to say that it's mutter out of deference to Rashbag's opinion by Gittin. Says the Gemara, no, Dilma Shani Hasam, maybe over there is different. The Ka'omar Kisfu, because Rashbag only says the concept that when even in the beginning there is some type of hint to us that he actually is going in the direction of divorce. He actually says kisvu, right? So over there we say, since later on he jumped off the roof, originally when he said kisvu, he also meant kisvu utnu. But in our situation over here by shchita, when the guy originally slaughtered the animal, we had nothing to be concerned about. He slaughtered it like a regular animal. And therefore, there's nothing at the beginning which at all pushes us in the direction to say avodah zara, only later on. So maybe when all you have is evidence later on, who said Rashbag agrees that Ella says the Gemara, we're Amravina, the reason why they didn't want to say that in the case that he slaughtered that it's mutter, that he slaughtered okay, and then only later on he had in mind to throw the dam l'avodah zara, we said they want to say le'hetav le'isr, right? So Ella Maravinu, the reason why they don't want to say it's mutter is mishum kavod the Rashbag dehocha, the following Rashbag, not the previous Rashbag we said, but it's a different the Tanya. If someone writes a will, he's dying, he writes a will to give his properties to someone else, meaning not his inheritance. And within the properties there were slaves there. The Omar, and he said, Omar Hala, the person who the will was written to, meaning the person who was going to get all the properties, he said, I don't want the problem of having these slaves, I don't want to support them, he doesn't want them. So if the second owner, meaning the person who is inheriting everything over here, was a kayan, if he was a kayan, then they can eat betruma, because even though he said he doesn't want it, too bad, it's his, and because they're owned by a kayan, so the halacha is that the slave that's owned by a kayan, he can eat betruma. So we're saying it's really considered his, and they can even eat betruma, even though he doesn't want it. Rabban Shimon Gamliel Rashbag says, Kevin Shomer Halo Yefshi Bohen. Once he says he doesn't want them, Kvar Zocho Behen Yarshim. So the inheritors, the real relatives who can inherit the man, they're the owners and not the kohen, since the kohen refuses to inherit the slaves. V'havinan ba, and we pondered. We had the following question: the Tanakama afilu oimid v'tzeveach. Could it be that the Tanakama really belongs to the kohen, even though he's screaming to refuse to accept the avodim? Can't be. That doesn't make sense that he is going to acquire them against his will. And Amar Rabba says, or Rava says, V'item Rabbi Yochanan, and some say Rabbi Yochanan, B'tzoveach me'ikara, when he's screaming all along, meaning from the beginning, if he was screaming to Kulam L'Lei Pligi D'Lei Kona, everyone agrees that he doesn't acquire them. If at the end, in the outset of this whole story, he says, I'm not interested in avodim, then everyone agrees he's not koine. If he's quiet, meaning he sort of accepted that he's going to take the avodim, and then only at the end, at the end he screams, everyone agrees it's too late. Once you agreed in the beginning and you were quiet and you acquiesced to accept the entirety of the will, and therefore you acquire these slaves too, and I don't care if later on you're tzevech, it's too late, it's yours already, you're responsible for them and you have to get rid of them. If you want to get rid of them, you have to get rid of them, but they're yours right now. In that situation, everyone agrees that he is kind. But kipligi, when is there a machlokes between the Tanakam and Rashbag? Shezikaloi al yidei acher v'shosak. If this person who's giving all the properties to the second owner, he was mizake the will through someone else. Meaning, when he gave this shtar matana, he gave the way he gave over all the properties to this person was through a document that said, I'm giving you as a present all my documents, because he didn't want it to go to his own inheritors. He really didn't want it to go to his relatives. He wanted to go to this person. Therefore, it was shtar matana, a document that said that all his properties go to him. Now, how did he give it to him? He didn't give it to him straight. He gave it to him through someone else. Even though the other guy was in the room, everyone was here, but he gave it to a different person in between, and he said, you acquire it for him. And the rule is, I can acquire something for someone else. I can make a kinyan for you. And therefore, the actual person who acquired the shtar, acquired the document, picked up the document, who the document was given to, was not the owner. Someone else acquired it for the owner. And in that situation, there is a machlokes. In that situation, if someone else acquired the document for the person who the money is all going to, and then the shosak will save tzavach. And in that situation, let's say the owner who's sitting there, and the second owner, the person who's getting all the money, is sitting there, and he sees the first owner give it to someone else, give the document to someone else for him, and then he's quiet. He acquiesces, and then only later on later on he screams. Tanakama holds midashasi kananu. Since at the beginning, at the outset, when the shtar was given to the in-between person, the mediator, when the shtar was given to him, he was quiet. Why was he quiet? It must be he's agreeing. So therefore, he acquires it. And later on, when he screams, he's trying to retract. He's trying to retract on his accepting of the slaves. But it's too late already, because the fact at the beginning it was quiet, it's too late, so therefore he accepts it. However, Rashbag holds no. The fact that at the end he screams, that proves to us that even all along he meant not to accept the slaves. Since he didn't, why didn't he scream? Why did he scream originally? Savar, because he thought, because until the document doesn't come to my hand, why should I scream? Meaning, since there was an in-between person over here, he didn't feel it necessary to show the fact that he did not want to accept the slaves until he actually gets the document. Until it came to his hands, he didn't have to show that he doesn't want the slaves. And therefore the fact that he was quiet doesn't prove to us anything. So you see again, Rashbag holds and therefore out of deference to Rashbag, who holds in general that we do look at future evidence to prove what happened in the past. So therefore over here, since the person by us, after he slaughtered the animal, he went to throw the blood Avodah Zarah. So therefore, Rashbag would say that also we look at that as evidence to say that maybe the shechita itself was Avodah Zarah, and therefore we won't say it's mutter out of deference to Rashbag's opinion. Continues the Gemara. Omar Rabbi Yehuda, Omar Shmuel. Halacha ki Rabbi Yossi. The halacha is like Rabbi Yossi in our Mishnah Rabbi Yossi holds that it's always mutter if a Jew slaughters an animal for an idolater, because again it all depends on the one who's slaughtering it. We don't care what the owner thinks. All we care is about the person who's actually officiating the slaughter. And therefore, because Rabbi Yossi holds the bailam are not mifagel, just like by kachim, so too by chulin. So therefore, so we're saying the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, and there were hano tayi. There were these Arab merchants who only ate shechita, right? The Arabs only eat from shechita. So the asul tzikunya, they get to this place called tzikunya, and yoiv dichri letavchi Yisrael. They gave rams to Jews to slaughter. Amru lahu, and they told them, dama v'tar b'ladidam. The blood and the fats should be for us. Meaning they wanted to take it and slaughter it l'avodah zarah. They wanted to take it and throw the blood and the fats to their idols, the idolatry. That should go to us. And mashal bisol lidchu. But you can take the skin and the flesh. So Sholcha Rav Tovi bar Rav Masna l'kamed Rav Yosef. Rav Tovi, the son of Rav Masna, sent this question to Rav Yosef. Ki agav namayim. In this situation, what's the halacha? Shalachlei, he sent him back. Achim Rav Yehuda Mishmal halacha ki Rav Yosef. Halacha is like Rav Yosef, so there's no problem. Meaning these merchants were idolaters. They gave an animal to the Jews to slaughter, because the Jews know how to slaughter, and they didn't have time, the Arab merchants didn't have time to take care of the whole thing. And they said like this, they said, you take the basar, slaughter it the way you want it, and then just give us the fats and the blood to throw to our idols, to throw on our altar, and you keep the basar and you keep the skin. The question is can we keep the skin? According to Rabbi Elazar, and maybe even the Tanakama, you cannot, it's usher, because since the owner wanted it for Avodah Zarah, he had intention for it to go to Avodah Zarah, so the animal becomes usher. But says Rav Yosef that no, we hold like Rabbi Yossi, who holds that the Bailam have absolutely no say. The Bailam can't be mefagel. The Bailam can't cause the animal to be avodah zarah. It all depends on who's the actual slaughterer, and therefore over here, since the slaughterers were Jewish, and therefore you can eat the basar and the skin. Omar le Rav Acha breder Rav Avia le Rav Ashi. Says Rav Acha, the son of Rav Avia, to Rav Ashi. Rabbi Elazar, according to Rabbi Elazar in our Mishnah, who says that a non-Jew stam machshavta is l'avodah zarah, and even though a Jew is slaughtering the animal, but since it belongs to a non-Jew, or the non-Jew has a part in the animal, and he wants to eat, like we said, he wants to eat the chatzar kaved, the part of the liver that he wants to eat. So therefore we say that the non-Jew disqualifies the carbon because he has in mind for avodah zarah. According to Rabbi Elazar, how about in a situation that a non-Jew who was an idolater gives money to a shaykhet, a Jewish shaykhet? Then what is that situation? Meaning, since let's say he gives him a dinar, he gives him a dinar of money, and he says, "I want meat from your carbon. Now, from your animal that you're going to slaughter, chulin. I want meat." So now, does the fact that he gave money and he has money in this animal disqualify the shechita now? Because now the non-Jew, the idolater, has machshava for avodah zarah, and since he has a partnership in the carbon in the animal, so maybe it's going to be disqualified according to Rabbi Elazar. Is that true or not? Meaning, in our Mishnah, we only said, let's say, if it fully belongs to a non-Jew, or from the outset it belonged to the non-Jew and the Jew together. So in that situation, Rabbi Elazar actually says that yes, it's disqualified because it belongs to a non-Jew, and the non-Jew can make it possible because he has intention for avodah zarah. But let's say you have the animal, it's your animal, and you're going to slaughter and you're going to sell meat, and this non-Jew comes and gives you and says, I take this money and I want a certain amount of the meat in the animal. So that does his partnership in the animal already disqualify the carbon, and now it's already avodah zarah. So Amar Lei tells him back, Chazinan, we should see, if this non-Jew is a strong person who's powerful, and the Jew cannot refuse him, can't say, take your money back, right? So that means that the non-Jew really has a strong hold on this animal, because the Jew is not in control over here. Since this person is powerful and he gave the money and you can't refuse him, therefore, it really is considered as if the non-Jew has a claim as ownership in the animal, and therefore, if he's a non-Jew, then the shechita will be possible because the owner can officiate machshava avodah zarah. However, v'ilai, but if the non-Jew is not powerful, it's an amrle reishach v'har, and he could really tell him, take your head and stick it in the mountain, meaning he could say, go jump in a lake. And since the Jew can tell the non-Jew, go jump in a lake and take your money back, therefore the non-Jew doesn't really have a stronghold in this animal. He doesn't really have a powerful part in this animal, doesn't really control the animal, and therefore we sort of see it as external. And the Jew can say, I don't want his partnership to ruin the kashrus of the animal. And we do actually say that since the non-Jew is not a controlling partner in the animal, therefore he does not have the koyach to have machshava avodah zarah and to disqualify this carbon. Ad kan Chulin Daf Lamed Tes.